Hello everyone, and welcome back to one more video on Fizz and the Rainbow Planet. This is part 4, not a part I intended to be making. Part 3's bonus content was supposed to be the end-all be-all of the last bit of content I wanted to show off, but I went ahead and pursued a dev interview with NijiroDragon, the creator of this game, and he was really nice, really friendly, and we had a great little text interview. I'm going to share that with you guys, and in the process of that interview, I learned that there's one more secret in this game that nobody has found, and he gave me a hint how to find it. So we're going to also be looking at that today as well. But before we begin, do think about coming over to, I should start by saying, think about giving a like, or maybe a subscribe if you like our content, or you like cool extra bonus content like this. Putting effort into these sort of things, like doing interviews with people and stuff, that takes effort. So if you like what you see, please do think about giving a subscription and, supporting us. Maybe coming over to Twitch if you'd like to hang out with us over here. Watch live. It's always fun to watch live because you can socialize with us, or you can lurk if you prefer that. And you can sometimes affect what happens here. Also, there's a pretty cool Discord server if you want to check that out. I have a Coffee link if you'd like to help us directly monetize the content. Really, really be grateful if you consider it. And there's a merch store if you want to buy some cool stuff over there. Links in the description. Check them out at your leisure. I must say, this interview is very interesting, though. Very super interesting. And I'm not just saying that. Like, legitimately, if you are a fan of Fizz and the Rainbow Planet, you're going to want to know about this interview. So let's, before we start the interview, we're going to start the interview. But before that, let me go to the soundtrack. Let me put some music on for this. Let's see. What should we play? Let's put on... something chill. What's a chill song? There we go. Perfect. Candy Police, Act 3. Ruby Night. Okay, so let me pull up the interview. It is right here. It should be right here. Where did it go? It's right here! There, found it! Okay. So, this interview was conducted on Twitter. And I did use a translation tool to talk to him, because NijiroDragon, the creator of the game, he is Japanese. So his responses were in Japanese, and I also sent mine in Japanese, translated. I probably didn't say perfect Japanese, but he was very friendly and patient with me. It was a good interview. So I'm going to provide everything translated to English, but I will also provide his words in Japanese below each post. I'm not going to read that out, obviously, because I can't read all the Japanese out. But I will provide that there in case anything is wrong with the translation and you want to look it up. But yeah, I started by saying, hello, I'm a content creator. I've talked about Fizz and the Rainbow Planet in recent videos. In my latest video, I played through all the previous games featuring these dragons available on NijiroDragon.com. So it's so clear that you've carefully crafted these characters and worlds over the years. Both we and our viewers are incredibly pleased with your work. Would you be interested in a text interview? This is an interview where you can talk about the game, characters, and settings. I have some interesting questions. I'd love to share a perspective with our viewers. Thank you for your consideration. And he responded, thank you for your message. As a developer, I'm incredibly happy that you've played Fizz and the Rainbow Planet and our other past games. I'll answer as many questions as I can about the text interview, but I'd love to. And then I said, thank you. You did a fantastic job with these games, especially Rainbow Planet. Thank you for agreeing to this interview. I've been thinking about a few questions, but I'll just leave it at this. I hope there aren't too many. So I actually asked a whole bunch of questions. He was very patient with me. What we're going to do is I'm going to read out the first question, then I'll go down to his response, and we'll just keep bouncing back and forth. So my first question was, I saw your Pixiv account. You've been drawing dragons for a long time. When did you come up with the idea for Fizz and the other dragons and their world and story? And what was your inspiration for creating them? So, NijiDragon said, answer your questions, answer only. Question 1. I first came up with the character Fizz around June 2017, and he was born as a character in the game Fizz's Adventures. That's the one that was the earliest of his games that we played on the YouTube room, if you remember. The one I had to play on mobile. So that was his first game, and where he came up with the first of the dragons. I was inspired by various content I loved and expanded the worldview from there. In terms of character design, the influence of Syrup from Puzzle and Dragon Z and the Ohagi from Gimmick are clear examples. I also started looking at Rao's illustrations, which I'll discuss later around this time. They have had a strong influence on me. If you remember, Rao is the creator of Plane. That's the yellow dragon that everybody really loves because they do a lot of vore in this game. So anyways, they were inspired by a great deal by Rao, who is a pretty cool artist, so that makes sense. But what's interesting is his other inspirations listed here. I'll actually pull up a couple examples. Does anybody know these games? we have discussed Gimmick before, and I'm surprised I didn't see the similarities before. So check this out. If you guys don't remember Gimmick, that was an NES game starring a little green guy, and you have fought a bunch of enemies, and those enemies, if I can provide an example, here it is. A lot of the enemies were like this. A lot of the basic enemies were these little guys, these little black guys that were like little sphere guys. So there's a whole bunch of different types of them in Gimmick. And yeah, that makes a lot of sense because when you think about it, in Fizz of the Rainbow Planet, what's the basic enemy? The little black guys. So yeah, very much an inspiration for the mooks and Gimmick for this game. That's pretty cool. Now, Puzzle and Dragon Z, this one really surprised me when I looked it up. So let me actually pull up an example. I should have had one ready, but that's okay. I've never played Puzzle and Dragon Z. It looks pretty cool. But if you look up Syrup, this is kind of crazy. When you look up Syrup, it's like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, I get it. So let me provide an example again. Here we go. There. So if we look up Syrup from Puzzle Dragon Z, you can immediately see, yeah, I can definitely see the inspiration for design for the Fizz of the Rainbow Planet Dragons when I look at Syrup. I mean, look at this guy. In fact, there's one picture in particular, if I can find it, which basically just looks like the exact style. It's really cool how this was inspired, honestly. I think I can access it from Puzzle Dragon Z Syrup. Let's see. I gotta find them. Yeah, they're just so obviously like an inspiration now that I look at them. Like, it's kind of cool. And it's definitely an inspiration. It's not like ripped off or anything, but it's so clearly like inspired by. Here's your sprite sheet. Just as an example. So I see Metasonic said, "Oh, Puzzle and Dragon Z. Have you played this game? Is it a good game? What's it about?" So it's an RPG Match 3 game, which Puzzles and Dragons Z. It's a spin-off of the main game, Puzzle and Dragons. I mean, Puzzles and Dragons sounds like a pretty fun combination. But yeah, so very much an inspiration. That's pretty cool. I see where they get the cute style of the dragons from that. But yeah. Now, let's go back up here. Actually, wait, is that the rest of the question? Yeah. Okay, let's go back up to my next question. So my next question was, were there any characters developed specifically for Fizz in the Rainbow Planet? Or have they already appeared in media before the game? So their answer to that was, some enemy characters and NPCs, excluding guest characters like the Conductor, are new to this game. On the other hand, all player characters have appeared in some form before. So that was an interesting little question. Basically, a lot of them do appear in other... There's a few cameo appearances, for instance, but... Along your games, I played the old game Fizz Adventure. Was that the first game you developed? Obviously, he kind of answered that in question 1, but he also says, yes, Fizz's Adventure was the first game I developed. I started working on it when I was a second-year high school student to exhibit at my school's cultural festival. So this was the first game he made. He wasn't even out of high school yet. Isn't that impressive? I started working with a second-year high school student to exhibit at my school's cultural festival. The attached photo is a booklet distributed in time. He actually provided me a unique little image. Take a look at this. So this is actually the booklet. So basically, his school had like a game development festival. And anyways, he not only made Fizz's Adventures, that first game that we played in the bonus video. You remember the one that had one of the final bosses be like Dark Link? Anyways, this game, he actually made he printed out a whole manual for it. He made a whole manual for it and shared that at the festival. So this is a picture of the manual he shared at the festival. So that's pretty cool. Unity Jump action game. That's pretty neat. I think he put so much effort into his first game, he even printed a manual for it. I think that's really neat. There's probably a lot of cool little details you can... Let me go ahead and full screen all this away in case anybody wants to like pour over this. It's probably just like game instructions of how to play, but in case anybody... I haven't tried to like zoom in and translate this. If you want to, feel free to though. Okay, moving on. So the next thing I have to read... My next question was, Fizz's Adventure seems like a prototype for Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. The character's themes and a lot of the music are similar. Was Fizz of the Rainbow Planet a sort of remake of Fizz of the Rainbow Planet? Okay, this was a bad translation. Again, I was trying to say everything, but you get what I mean. Was Fizz's Adventure a sort of remake of Fizz of the Rainbow Planet? Translating stuff is hard. Okay, they answered, it does have the elements of a remake, but more than that, it's more of a re-attempt to achieve things that I wasn't able to achieve in Fizz's Adventure. After creating Fizz's Adventure, the world re-expanded rapidly, and I went to create and share the story once again. When I felt my skills are sufficient, I took on a large-scale production again, and the result was Fizz of the Rainbow Star. So I think they did a great job. This was their first large-scale production, Fizz of the Rainbow Star. Their first game release was obviously not their first game, but it was the first time they wanted to be really serious about releasing a game, you know? Not to say that they weren't serious before, though. They definitely were. So here's a question that a lot of you that was on your guys' minds. Speaking of music, the music in Fizz of the Rainbow Planet sounds like it was from the Game Boy Advance. Did you use Game Boy Advance era instruments to compose the soundtrack? We had suspicions about this. I pointed this out in the bonus video too, how some of the files for the music were internally even named RSE, like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. So I went ahead and asked them, like, hey, what's up with the sound font stuff? So their answer to that was, while I primarily used GBA sound sources, some of the sounds I used were from other sources, such as the flutes and drum sets. I actually wanted to use all GBA sound sources, but after searching for sounds that fit the image, I settled on the current style. So actually, yes, he totally does use sound sources from the GBA, but not entirely. And I guess that makes sense, because if you listen, for instance, the song we're listening to right now, it has a very high quality snare in the drum. So yeah, I could see that he's using some instruments that are higher quality than GBA, but they pair very well with the GBA instruments. In fact, I didn't even notice until he pointed it out. So yeah, there's a few instruments that are indeed from other sources, but mostly he is using GBA instruments for the music. Alright, next question. I'm very curious about Tasogari and Aratsuki. If you don't remember those two, those are the black and white dragons. I featured them on the Part 3 thumbnail. Everybody seemed to like them. So, remember, they're the ones that appear at one specific location in Float Islands, Act 3. And depending on what time of day it is for your computer clock, you will see either one of them or the other, but never ever at the same time. They were a sneaky one to try to get both NPCs unlocked for it. But yeah, so I said to them, I'm very curious about Tasogari and Aratsuki. On the Fizz of the Rainbow Planet website, these two dragons appeared in a group photo of the main characters. We looked at them in the bonus video. And they even had profiles like the main dragons, so they really stood out. And yet I noticed that in the game, they only make up a small portion of the NPCs you can make. Were these two originally intended to play a larger role? This was a question I was very curious about, because it did seem like they meant to have a larger role. So their answer to that was interesting, too. Actually, it was the other way around. I didn't originally plan to feature Tasogari and Aratsuki. However, the sprites I made as a test turned out to be good, so I decided to include them as NPCs. I'd like to feature them in more future works. So there was never a plan to give them an expanded role in the game, but he does like them a lot. So he does intend to feature them more in future works. Maybe they'll have more of a role there, who knows? But yeah, future works is a key detail about this interview. Let's keep going. The English update for Fizz of the Rainbow Planet has been released, and it feels like the game has become much more polished, I asked. Are there any plans for future updates or DLC? So this is where things get interesting. Thank you. As for updates and DLC for Fizzy and the Rainbow Star, I like that translation. I'm still thinking about what we can do, so please look forward to future developments. However, I can't guarantee that something new will be released. Now, that's fair, right? That's fair enough. Like, will there be more content? No, the game feels kind of complete, but let's go a little further with that. So the next question I asked was, do you have plans to make more games in the future? A sequel to Fizz or another game starring dragons? And his answer to that was, yes, I do have plans to make a sequel. Currently, I'm working on adapting a story depicting the past of Planet Longa into a game, adjusting the plot and prototyping the system. Please look forward to it. So there is a sequel in the works, and it's going to be a prequel. Basically, it's going to be in the past of the game, in the world that we play in Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. So this is big news. This is a big deal, I think. So basically, what he's saying is, we're going to play the world of Fizz of the Rainbow Planet, but it's going to be a past game for the future game. What I think is going to happen, here's my theories off of that. You know the God Dragon? I think it's going to be focused on them. maybe when they were younger, maybe when they were a little dragon. Because if it's in the past, I assume that the main cast that we play in Fizz of the Rainbow Planet, I assume they're not going to be born yet because they're kind of young. So if we're doing a past version of Planet Longa, it's not going to star Fizz and his siblings. It's probably going to star either the God Dragon, whose name I keep forgetting, but yeah, Tayanga, I think. It may star them as a kid, or maybe as younger. Or maybe it'll star Azuki and maybe Azuki and Tatsugari are actually not super young. Who knows? Maybe they're actually they've been around a while or something. You never know. Dragons are weird. So who knows what we'll see? But there's a lot of theories you can put into that. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. That's definitely worth watching out for. So that's a big deal. That's like the biggest update here with the interview, I'd say. Well, let's say for one other thing. So the next question I had for him was, are you close to Rao? I thought it was really cool to see his character play an important role twice in the guest boss battles in Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. And they answered to that. Thankfully, I've become good friends with Rao. I had just created my first vore-type enemy character and posted on Twitter when Rao contacted me, leading to a direct collaboration. So what happened was, I was wondering what would I wonder what, which happened first. Did Rao make vore happen in the game, or did vore happen and then Rao? So it turns out, looks like what happened here was NijiroDragon added a vore enemy to the game because he wanted to, and then Rao was like, I like this, and then contacted him, and then they figured out a collaboration. That's how play got in the game. So that's pretty neat. And then more vore gets added, so I asked about that further. Speaking of play, we noticed a fair amount of vore. I don't know why cannibalism in this game. I guess the translator just wanted to throw that in there for some reason. Yeah, cannibalism, sure. In the game. We love vore as well, so it was really fun. We're curious if this was something that was planned for the game from the beginning, or if it was added later. Do you have plans to feature more vore in future games or media you create? Obviously a question I'm sure some people were wondering. Will there be more vore? So their answer to that is pretty smart. Vore is just one of my many hobbies that I didn't plan to incorporate a lot of it in from the start. However, I started to enjoy it as I was making it, and in the end, it became that lengthy. You have to be careful, because if you go too far, the platform might complain. So in other words, he doesn't want to go too far and make the game too, whatever, and then maybe somebody complains and stuff. So he's trying to be careful. So he says, I think I'll continue to incorporate this element while keeping it a little more toned down. So what that basically means is that this sequel to Fizz of the Rainbow Planet will probably have vore. It probably won't be as much, but there'll be a little spice in there that will still exist. So that's going to be fun. I understand him being careful, especially with the current internet landscape, unfortunately. So next I asked, while playing, there was a special conversation with Tayanga. This occurs when you've been eaten enough. Tayanga says he'd like to get eaten too. Do you think we'll see a scene where Tayanga actually gets eaten? Tayanga can grow tricks, so perhaps they'll try vore elements with both roles? I just asked this question for fun. I didn't think there'd be any answer to it that was particularly long, but he had a fun answer. This is one of the elements I'd like to try someday. A scene where a divine dragon like Tayanga is eaten would be quite an exciting sight. So here's my theory. We know there's going to be a sequel to Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. We know it's going to take place in the past. The chances of it related to Tayanga? Pretty likely. And then he says this. We're going to see some Tayanga vore in the sequel, I bet. That's my guess. That's my theory. He does seem interested in the idea, so. We are also interested in the NPCs, I asked. We saw Wolfnaga from another game make a cameo. Are the other NPCs also from other games, or is it a Fritz character making a cameo? To that, he answered, the guest NPCs that appear in Fizz of the Rainbow Star were recruited from mutual followers on Twitter. Therefore, they don't necessarily come from other games. The X account IDs of each guest NPC are listed in the credits, so please take a look, which is true. There are some IDs there. I didn't pay attention right away. So you can go check them out. That's not the first time the NijiroDragon has involved his Twitter followers into his games. There was one game which just had like Twitter followers as part of a shoot 'em up, like icons. They would just show up. So he really liked supporting his Twitter followers. Another thing I asked was, there's one NPC who doesn't appear in the game, but does appear in the files, Kazuka. If you don't mind, please tell me why she doesn't appear in the game. If you don't remember this was a character that we found in the files. I shared it in the bonus video. I shared their sprite sheet, and I was like, they're not in the game. So I asked, like, why are they in the game? So this answer was very interesting, because they said, actually, you can make them appear if you meet special conditions. A special hint. This character has a mechanism that triggers an event if you perform a certain action for 1 hour each day. That was not enough of a hint for me, but we'll get to that in a second. To finish off the interview, I asked, finally, a fun question. Which dragon is your favorite and why? I'm a huge fan of all the dragons, but my favorite is Sorako. She's so cute. I think he's so cute, technically, but the little guy, the little ground dragon. That's my favorite. They said, I love them all, but I especially like Rhythron. I really love his competitive spirit and recklessness. That's the fire dragon, if you don't remember. So here's the full interview, his answers in Japanese, in case you want to read it. In case you don't like the quality of my translations, you can go ahead and take the raw. But the interview continued a little bit. I answered a few of his answers, because why not? So I said, thank you so much for answering so many questions. I'd like to comment on some of your answers. And this is my thoughts, as I'll share them. So, for the first quick question, I also played Gimmick. I love it. I can really see the similarities between the basic Gimmick characters in that game and Fizz and Rainbow Planet. I'm surprised I didn't notice this before. I've never played Puzzle Dragon C, but Syrup is so cute. I can see how Syrup inspired the dragon design. And it's amazing you create a booklet and presentation for your first game. I wish my school had a festival like this. Would have been, like, school festivals? That just sounds great. I don't think we really have that in the West. I guess it's more of an Eastern thing? Pretty neat idea. I could tell Gimmick vibes too, yeah. You did a great job, though. It's very clear how much the game has grown from the previous game in terms of art and game design, the Fizz the Rainbow Planet. This is me responding to him saying how he wanted to make Fizz the Rainbow Planet to be, like, way better than his first game. And yeah, he grew very far in the process of, like, 5 years of game development, like I think it was. I also said, involving the black and white dragon, I said, I'd love to see more of those two in action. Reading about their backwards relationship was fascinating. I'm curious how they relate or not to the magic orbs and attribute system. And as far as responding to him saying about a sequel, I said, that's amazing. I'll be waiting for more updates. The past. Wow. I wonder if it'll be tied to the Tayanga story. I'm excited. And then in relation to them talking about how they're not going to add a ton of vore in the future, but they will still add vore, that's certainly true. It's sometimes met with negative reviews on some platforms, so you have to be careful. That said, it was a fun element, so I'm glad they included it. I'm excited to see how it's used in the future, I said to them. And then, involving the missing character I thought was not in the game. Wow, I actually overlooked that. Thanks for the hint. I'll look into it more. But I still don't know where to start. If you don't mind, could you give me another hint? So I did ask for another hint. I was greedy, because I was like, I don't think I can figure it out yet. And then I asked one more question, and this was a viewer question. One of you guys suggested in the Discord. I have one more question. A viewer asked, what do you think about fan art of your game? Also, can I make my own dragon in the style of yours? And then I said, it's really fun talking to you. Thank you for your time. And I also decided to share something. Now, I was speaking in the first person here because it's easier than explaining multiple personalities to random people. But you guys might remember that, and this is something that just came to me recently as well, Charem has a character that was inspired by Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. And I didn't make this connection until recently, because it was actually a character that came to Charem in a dream, as I say here. Speaking of which, I remember a funny thing happening when I played Fizz demo a while back, or specifically when Charem played the Fizz demo. After that, Charem had a dream and came up with his character. And then Charem asked her best friend, Kairio, to draw him for her. And his name is Anthem, and he's young just like your dragons. And if you're curious, I will share a picture. So this is the character that Kairio drew for Charem. This is a character that basically did just come to the Charem in a dream, which is very unusual. Charem doesn't usually dream up characters. So this character, what I realized after the fact, Charem didn't actually realize this, but this character came to Charem a little bit after playing the Fizz of the Rainbow Planet demo. You guys might remember the videos of that a while back. This character came about after that, so like a little bit after, like half a month. So I think this character was directly inspired by Fizz of the Rainbow Planet, and I'm now looking at it, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it looks like they fit perfectly in there. So, yeah. So this is Anthem, if you haven't seen him before. He's very cute. And I decided to share that with Niji, because I figured Niji might be interested in seeing them. They're very cute. More should be done with Anthem. He's very cute. So Niji responded, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're interested in Fizz and their friends' worlds. And so much fun talking to you. Finally, I'd like to share an additional hint about Kazuka. If I could offer an additional hint, it might be good to explain how this character came about. Actually, I once experienced sleep paralysis and heard a voice, and I used that experience to create her. So what if it's a similar situation? were to occur in the game. So this was the other hint, and I worked off of this hint for a little while, and we're gonna see the fruits of that labor in a minute. If you guys don't remember Kazuka, though, we actually ran into them when we were looking on during the Part 3 bonus video. We actually looked at their Pixiv, and we found this character that I thought was pretty interesting because they actually were in the NPC files as well, but they weren't in the game as far as I could tell. Which is why I'm glad that NijiroDragon corrected me on this. But this is Kazuka, and I did notice that they had a bit of an odd vibe because if you look at this image that I translated here, it says at the top something that makes me feel like I'm in a state of sleep paralysis. Fluffy. The inside of the mouth is, I can't read it at this resolution actually. Hold on. The inside of the mouth is blue, a tail as indefinite, never changing as smoke. Pause. It's not scary. So this was a very interesting character, and I already noticed the sleep paralysis mention. So it's really cool when they told me this because who the heck does that, right? Who the heck has a sleep paralysis event, sees something in it, and goes, you know what? That'd make a cool character. Then they make a character. They draw a character for it. That's neat. We worked off it. Yes, Esther helped as well. Esther very much helped me. I couldn't completely solve the puzzle, but Esther helped me solve it. Esther, I actually forgot to write down what hour is it again? Do you remember? I forgot which hour it was. But yeah, so we figured out the puzzle for this. But yeah, Kazuka's an interesting character. Basically a sleep paralysis character. I think so too. Alright. So let's finish the interview though before we get to that. So about that question the viewer asked. Answers to viewers. I'm happy to receive fan art in any form, as long as it's filled with emotion. I love that answer. Sensitive works are of course welcome, but please be sure to restrict age restrictions and zoning. Respect your local zoning laws when making fan art, guys. But yeah, basically what he's saying is, feel free to make fan art. It's okay if you want to make like weird art, like vore art or something, that's fine too. Just make sure to respect the age restrictions and policies, I think is what he means, of the site or wherever you're posting it. Make sure to respect the place you're putting it. Make sure it's not against the rules, you know? You're also welcome to create your own dragon in the style of Fizz in the Rainbow Planet, is what he means. And as long as it's not an exact copy of an existing dragon, feel free to have fun. So if you want to make a fan character based on the game, he's happy. He'd probably love to see it, actually. Again, his Twitter handle is NijiDra, NijiDra. So if you make some Fizz of the Rainbow Planet fan art or make a fan character, go throw it at him. Go tweet him out and let him know because he'd probably love to see it. But also I love his response to Anthem after showing Anthem. He said, "Anthem, your chubby body and purple tongue are so cute. If Fizz and her friends' worlds influence your dreams, I think that's wonderful." Really cute, really nice response. I really like this guy. He's very friendly. Honestly, since he adds like random people into his games as NPCs, I wonder if I could maybe, when later he makes another game, when it comes closer to that time, I wonder if I could get them in as an NPC. Anthem, that is. Maybe I could pay for that or something at the time. I'll see what happens. I don't know how long it'll take for him to work on a sex game, but I feel like I might bring that up with him later. It'd be kind of cool. I mean, he likes Anthem, and I think Anthem would fit really good in that style. So, but here's his answers in Japanese in case you want to take the direct translation. And I finished off by saying, "That was the perfect hit. It took a while, but I managed to do it, involving the secret. I'm planning to shoot a video soon that compiles the secret and the interview. I'll share a link once it's finished. I'll also share a link to the previous videos I made with this. It's amazing you were inspired by saying it's terrifying as sleep paralysis to create this character. Kazuka's a little scary, but also a very kind character. You'll see why I say that in a bit. I'm glad you like Anthem too. I hope to do more of them someday." And we do hope to do more of them. They're pretty good. So that was the interview, and it was a lot of fun, and they were very nice. Very, very nice person. I really enjoyed that interview with them. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and figure out the secret now. Actually, I did write it down for myself. Right. So the trick is, do you guys remember? Let's go back to the actual game now. Now we're going to actually show some stuff. So, you guys might remember. We can do this on any mode. Let's do normal. Hello, Catnap. Welcome back. So you guys might remember. Now, the secret I'm about to show everybody. There is no documentation, no video, no nothing about this secret. I don't think anybody's figured this out. There's no Steam community posts about it or anything. So please welcome a brand new secret that nobody knows about. I hope you look forward to this. This is hype, in my opinion. I mean, is it the largest secret? Not exactly, but it does do something very interesting. So here, let's do it. So remember, this is the beginning of the game. This is Fizz's house. We actually found an Easter egg here. You guys might remember that if we pull out Rythron, we can actually burn his bookshelf. And Fizz is not happy about that, you know? It's just a silly little Easter egg. Nothing really happens with it. I think I also tried to do other things and nothing else. There's no other little secrets involving interacting with the room. But here's the thing. You guys might remember, we've done this before, but the bed can be interacted with. If you interact with the bed, you can take a rest. And it will actually recover your HP and your MP meters to full. Which is pretty neat, right? I think it's pretty cool. Please don't ask game name. Why are you bringing this back? This is Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. Oh no, please don't be like the YouTube commenters that ask what the name of the game is when it's displayed at the top. But by the way, it's displayed at the top for this too, by the way. There's a game name. There's a game name in the title. I changed it to Fizz of the Rainbow Planet. Why do people save this? Why do people ask for the game name when it's right there? Alright, so. Anyways, nothing happened when we slept. Now, here's the trick. Much like Sukazari and Adasuki, where you had to change your computer clock to see different ones at different times, there's a very specific secret involving your computer clock for this too. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off setting time automatically. I'm going to change my clock. My computer clock. I'm going to change it to 1 a.m. Anywhere in 1 a.m. works. 1 a.m. specifically. Has to be 1 a.m. So 1 a.m. to 1:59 a.m. anywhere in there, I think is what works. So we do that. And I don't know if I need to reset the entire game. I don't think so. I think I just need to leave the room. So, Tucker. Yeah, Tucker. What's up? That was the name of the streamer, yeah. So now if we rest in the bed with this specific timestamp, with this specific time on our computer clock, 1 a.m. Hey, can you hear me? But who's there? I can't move. Yeah, we get a whole cutscene. A secret cutscene and everything. Don't be scared, it's okay. I'll share my energy with you. Well, what's happening? Ah! They are ghosts, basically. Fizz of the team got a huge health boost. Do you look at the hut? Yep. Huh. A dream. What was that? They're kind of spooky, but they're friendly. Your eye broke. Yeah, that's That is real, by the way. It does actually add that much health. And everything. Actually, I should see what happens if you use this with Gyuma. Let's see. Does it drain the whole bar still? No, it just drains a portion. I flooded the house. Okay, it didn't actually do anything. But yeah, so that doesn't increase our max, it just overextends our max. So basically what I mean by that is it will it allows us to use more of that. So like if we bring ourselves down below max, it will not go over that again. So basically it's not a permanent change. If we lose those bars, they won't go back up that high again. Though we can just revisit her. We can just go back to the bed. As long as it's 1 a.m. on the computer clock, we can revisit and restore it again. Does that mean they're the one healing us while we sleep? It's possible. They're kind of spooky, but they're very nice. Do you have anything to say about that? Okay, no. I was wondering if they did. Okay. So, one thing that I should do... One thing that was suggested to me with this crazy health bar. You can go... Like, it's permanent as long as you don't lose it. As long as you don't lose those bars, it stays that big. Let's go to... Where was it? I think it's Matcha Forest, yeah. Obviously, what's funny is, if you enjoy the vore enemies, but you want to get vored for longer because you have a limited health bar, so you can only get vored for so long. Well, now you can get vored for a long time. Actually, now that I think about it, there's some interesting things we could perhaps do with that. May as well. People like the vore. But there's one thing in particular that was asked, and I'm going to check it out now. It was something that, yeah, here it is. So this was brought up by, Essler. Cuba instantly dies if they touch an electric orb. Does that still happen with this much health? No. It does drain the entire health bar's worth, but we still have more health. Okay, that answers that question. So those aren't actually an instant death, they just do a ton of damage. Long vore. Let's do some long vore with enemies that don't spit you up, so I guess. Actually, remember how in the bonus video I pointed out that you can get turned into a bunny-colored dragon? If you get eaten by the bunny, let them do the deep digestion phase and then struggle to get out before you die. You can turn into a bunny color. But it's like very specific because you have to hurry. You have to like let them eat you a little bit and then you have to get out right before you die. Well, what happens if we just don't get out because we have a large health bar? I want to see that. I want to test that. The likes also seem to insta-kill you. I don't know if they actually do or not. We could check. The likes also seem to do an insta-kill. The moment they bring you into their stomach, they seem to just delete your health bar. So I'm not sure if that will happen again. Oh, I can't use it in bed again. I think I might have to go back to title first. I might have to reset the event. Okay, I might have to close the game. Hold on. I'm fairly certain you could do the event multiple times. I did test that. You lose all your HP. Oh, that might be the problem. Maybe I just have too much still. Oh, maybe you can only rest in the bed if you're hurt. Like, hurt below your max. That's probably it. I just need to get hurt. No problem. Oh, that's interesting. If I pause, I get to bounce immediately again. That's kind of funny. I didn't know that worked that way. Let's just shoot some fireballs and... yeah. Okay, that should let me do it. So we'll do a few tests. Since we have an extended health bar to work with. Yeah, so you can only rest if you're hurt. And if you're wondering, if you went to bed with another character besides Fizz, it actually switches to Fizz for this scene. But yeah, that whole cutscene is, like, unique and everything. Like, this is a pretty cool little secret. I mean, it mechanically changes you. It gives you a new cutscene. It lets you meet a new character. I think it's pretty neat. That's a pretty neat little secret. I'm really glad that NijiroDragon was willing to tell me how to get to it. Because... nobody's found it, and understandably so. You have very little reason to walk all the way back to Fizz's house in the tutorial, and you might notice that you can heal at the bed, but like after you do it once, like, okay, cool, I can heal at the bed, and you never do it again. Why would you do it again? But if you come back at a very specific time, there you go. Let's see. Let's test with... okay, you guys wanted me to check with the, Feature plant guys. Let's do that first, sure. I think they're in stage 2? Here I go, try to remember what stage to go to. Well, they're kind of all over the place. Stage 2 works. Stage 1 actually introduces them, but Stage 2 has them as well, so... Careful not losing health. Okay, let's see what happens if I get in their stomach with this much health. Is it also an instant death? Does it? I'm guessing it just counts like a pitfall. And just takes you out. Yep, gone. 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 Done. Finite. Over. Yeah, it's just an instant kill. That actually is an instant kill, unlike the electric orbs. It counts the same as falling into a pit, or lava when you're not the right character, or poison. Poison when you're not the poison dragon, lava when you're not Rythron, any pit when you're anybody. Those are all instant deaths as far as I know. So they won't be affected by the longer health bar. Oh wait, I'm not hurt. Hold on. Yeah, this game is pretty good, honestly. I had a good time with it. I look forward to see what NijiroDragon makes in the future. I will definitely play the sequel/prequel to this when it comes out. 100%. And if we can, let's try. I will try to get. Maybe if he's up for it, I'll try to get Anthem in the game. That'd be pretty cool if I could cameo him. It's okay if I can, of course, but it'd be nice to try at least. Since it's very clear that NijiroDragon likes to throw random cameos in. It's just a fun thing to do. So, Anthem would be a real cutie to add in. And oh, this game has a completely... Yeah, this game is completely Kirby vibe, definitely. Okay, so now, if I remember correctly, when the bunny eats you, it will never give you up, never let you down, never let you go or desert you. But also, until you struggle. But if let's just stay inside a bunny really long. How's that sound? Okay. So let's see what... Hi, bunny. Wait, he's barely hurting me. Well, I guess he just doesn't do much damage on normal, but... Looks at a game where you have to finish the story 5 hours, 100 hours. Relatable. What game is that, out of curiosity? So anyways, normally if you stay in the bunny butt too long, he just takes you out really fast. I noticed he's actually... he actually drains your special meter too. I didn't notice that. Okay, so I was wondering what would happen if you just stayed like this. So it turns out, bunny doesn't do anything else if you have extra health bar. Worth checking. Oh well. Of course there's other vore enemies that we could attempt this with. I doubt we'll get any... It is entirely possible. Plane Fight 1? I don't think that Plane Fight 1 kicks you out of their belly. We'll do everything with Rythron. You know why we're doing everything with Rythron? It's because NijiroDragon says this is their favorite character. Let's do everything with Rythron. They made this possible, after all. They made it possible for me to find the secret, so... Everything gets done with Rythron. So, normally... I just realized, look at the health bar! The boss health bar overlapped ours. I didn't think about that. Yeah, the boss health... By the way, they kicked us out early. That's rude. So the boss health bar actually overlaps this giant health bar. That's funny. That was fun to see, just to check that out, too. But yeah, there's no way to actually leave. I mean, I guess I could do this. If you pace with their struggles, then you stay forever. Which is fun. Okay, hi. Alright, let's see. I don't think, again, I don't think any vore enemy will do something special if they have a long time to digest us, but... If nothing else, it gives you extended animations. Oh, that's cute. I didn't notice this, but the start button is a struggle. Start button counts for struggling. Hi there, Matt. Okay, I don't think anything special happening if I get eaten by people with big health bar. It is a fun way to get a longer vore sequence, though, if you want to do that. Which I know some people do, because literally, there was a little mod file made for this game, which all it does is it makes you have infinite health, so you can, or it makes it so you don't take damage in vore in this game. So you can do the vore without taking any damage. You can just watch it forever. Actually, now that I think about it, if there was a secret vore animation for being in the belly too long, I bet those people would have found it, and they didn't mention that. So I doubt there's anything like that. But hey, a little bit of vore to send us off. Why not? Why not, right? What I think I'll conclude with is going back over one last time, getting that health bar up before I quit. But yeah, this is actually, unless there's any more secrets, I don't think there is, but oh, how wrong I was. This is Post-Stream Tucker, and I have some more content for you. I was really ready to stop after the stream. I wasn't planning on any more content in, but when I was working on the thumbnails, I decided to pull some assets from the assets I had ripped. And I noticed one sprite sheet in particular had some stuff I had never seen. So I went back over to NijiroDragon and asked him about it. And he said that you've discovered a new secret. And he said, in relation to the sprite sheet, the 3 sprites at the bottom are from a secret room, and one of the windows at the back of the level serves as the entrance. Added in version 2, so it was a recent change. He also said that this item here, the crafting table that I'd also found in the sprite sheet, was originally intended for Fizz's house, but it was scrapped due to lack of space. As far as I can tell, this is one of the very few assets that's actually unused in the game, but in the files. The only other one is this really interesting little set of panoramas that look like early versions of the levels, maybe before... I wonder if they were, like, generated or something before he actually drew them himself, NijiroDragon. They're pretty cool. But yeah, there's a big old secret, but in the process of trying to hunt it down, and it actually took hours, so this little segment is probably not going to be that long. In the process of tracking it all down, I also found a few other things I'd like to note. Let's go over these. I'll show off everything I found in level order mostly. So let's start with Monster Forest Act 1. I discovered some unique dialogue that only happens if you come back with dragons from later in the game. It's right here at this box stack of enemies. Normally you defeat these with Leafer's bow, but if you approach the boxes, as you see here, Fizz actually says something. And that's, I didn't catch that last time. And if you destroy the box with Rythron and then drop down and destroy everything, you get this dialogue here. And that's quite interesting, because he's very proud of himself for doing the puzzle instead of Leafer. The next thing I'll show off is actually a technique, and you can do this anywhere, typically in places that it's more flat. It uses Rubel, and it wasn't discovered by me, a speedrunner found it. Basically, you spam the webbing while jumping very slightly, and if you do the rhythm right, if you diagonally down the webbing into the ground, you can move very quickly. This is probably a good speedrunning tech for some people to try out. It's actually faster than any other dragon can move. Well, here's something fun to do if you want to be a horrible person. During a previous part, I said that it was impossible to get Rythron and Sorako tentacle grabbed by the squid, since they immediately drown underwater and basically are untouchable by the squid in that situation because of all the damage frames. Turns out I was wrong. You don't even need an extended health bar for this, though it does help. Turns out if you stand just like this, and you set up the squid just like so, and switch at the right time, you can indeed get tentacle grabbed. Here's a demonstration of both dragons suffering this fate. I am sorry, but I had to be thorough after that time I said I couldn't do it. Well, I was wrong. You can. I do find it really funny how the hurt portrait is constantly bouncing back and forth between the squid damage and the drowning damage. That's sort of darkly funny. Okay, final stretch now. The last 2 things take place in Candy Palace Act 3. The first thing is something I found by accident while looking for the main thing. It turns out at this bridge at the start, if you swing underneath it with Rubel, which is very dangerous, the pit is very low to the ground there, you can definitely swing into it and die. If you go to the trouble of swinging all the way under here, look at this, a 1-up. Like, probably one of the more secret 1-ups, at least in my opinion anyways. Okay, finally, the big major secret, the last thing that I hadn't found. As NijiroDragon said, there is a window in the background of a level that serves as the entrance to a secret. And well, there's not that many windows in the game, actually. Most of the game takes place in the wilderness. There's a window at Fizz's house right at the beginning, but that's not the one. So clearly, I knew what I had to do. I had to hunt Candypolis. Because Candypolis has so many abilities, has so many windows, and oh my goodness me, I spent so long looking around. But finally, I figured it out, and actually, it was kind of signposted if you look for it. So, you go here into the 3D section, and the building here that is well, most of the background is like a little dimmer than the others. This is the one. If you jump high enough, and you'll notice the one window is glowing a bit more. And if you pause, it's even more obvious. And if you head inside, well, take a look at this. You run into, I think, NijiroDragon himself. I believe this is a developer insert. I mean, look at that computer with a Unity program on it and everything, and he's working hard. Now, when I was actually recording this right here, I didn't actually know that you could actually get into that room over there, though. So, I was just messing around, and, well, look at this. It turns out the Sirocco can dig through this. It's secretly a Sirocco block wall. Well, look at that. So there's a little bit of extra dialogue, some of the most secret dialogue in the game, alongside, of course, the secret dialogue of the sleep paralysis character. This is really cool. I'm really happy to have found this. I really appreciate NijiroDragon for helping me find him, basically, I think. Wonder what he is there. I can't quite tell. Maybe a dragon of some sort. Cool to see a self-insert, honestly. But that is it. That is all the secrets. That is everything. I even asked Nijiro, is there anything else, like, super secret you think I missed? And he said, no, I think you found everything, and thanks for enjoying the game so much. And I was like, yeah, of course. So, yeah, that is actually everything. Pinned, post-stream edits pinned to the end of the video. I hope this covers everything. I think it does. I think it does. There's probably, like, little things you can still figure out, but it should cover everything major. So, I think we'll head back to that stream and let stream me in the past finish out this last video. This should be the actual last video of Fist in the Rainbow Planet. I'll try to stay in contact with the developer, especially as they work on their next game. I'll probably have the opportunity to do another interview with that game, probably, too. Because they were very nice. They seemed to be very happy to talk to us. So, yeah, I hope you guys really enjoyed this series. It ended up being much bigger than I expected. All the secrets, all the developer review. Now I can rest on my laurels. I have done everything I could think of doing for a video for this game. So, yeah, this time for real. If I said that for I think I said something similar for the bonus video of part 3, but this is actually it. So I hope you guys enjoyed Visit the Rainbow Planet. It was a good time, and we'll keep an eye out for what happens in the future. Whether it's a game or some other multimedia or something, I will keep an eye on NijiroDragon's works, and I'll let you know what happens. But thanks for watching this series, and I hope you enjoy it. Butcha!